5, 4, 3, 2.
Hey everybody, let me get this off the screen. Jeff Colson with Junior Hockey Advisor. Got to get this off the screen. There we go. How are y'all? It's Sunday night, time to talk hockey. Glad to be here with you. Exciting week for junior hockey. It was great to see some great USHL, the World Junior team starting to come together. We talked a little bit about it, but I told you to watch out for that junior team out of Canada, and they put their roster together. We're going to do a whole World Juniors next week. That's all we're going to talk about is World Juniors. I've actually had the privilege of actually scouting the World Juniors before and doing some work with that, so can't wait till next week. We'll get into that. But tonight, we're going to talk about one particular website. We're going to talk about one particular area on a website that's called College Hockey Inc., and we'll get rolling with that right now. And we'll go there. Okay, so we're going to talk about, I think you saw it in the intro. Tried a new intro tonight. Tell me what you think. Trying to have a little bit more fun. Oh, I did leave that up there too. So we're going to talk NCAA a little bit, but what we're really going to talk about is we're going to talk about College Hockey Inc. The College Hockey Inc. website right there, College Hockey Inc. has got a couple areas that are pretty cool. We're going to get into that. Now remember, what I do and why I do this. There's a website called Junior Hockey Advisor. That's my website, Facebook. We've got an awesome discussion group. If you're not already a part of our discussion group, Junior Hockey Advisor discussion group, please join. Please interact. Please invite your friends, hockey friends, and get involved. It's a great community. It's very positive and it's informative. So I think you'd really find it helpful if you're not already there. If you're already there, hey, invite some more friends. And make sure you take the time to go over to our page, because there's a discussion group that joins the page, and the page is the Junior Hockey Advisor page. Great numbers on both those sites. We're doing wonderful with growth, but unless we can keep growing this, it really can't stay around. We've got to continue to sustain and grow and grow and grow. Why I do this? Well, I actually do webinars. I do consulting for the hockey world, for youth organizations, for coaches, for parents. I'm not an advisor. I don't try to play an advisor. I don't want to be an advisor. That's not the role. My role is to discuss the process from youth to 16 and 18, which is different than youth, 15 to 16 and 18 now, which is different than youth, and the transition from youth to 16 and 18, the transition from youth to prep, for the transition from youth to high school. We're gonna deal with a lot of that with the College Hockey Inc. site tonight as we discuss it. But that's what I do. So if you go to our website, you can find some free information there. We do a lot of free webinars. If you're looking to hire a family advisor, if you stumble across us because you're looking for a family advisor, we've got plenty of content on there that will help you and help you go through the process. along with a lot of other things like building your team and building your identity and building your brand, which is really what this is all about. It's about branding a hockey player so that they get the opportunity to move to the next level. Wherever that next level would be, clearly there's 3 levels of college hockey. There's Division I, there's Division III, and there's ACHA. Now, inside of ACHA, there's several levels there too. But those are your choices. You can play at a very competitive or recreational club level at ACHA. You can play at different levels of D3 because some of the D3 programs out there are literally massed D1 programs that are just at a smaller school or choose to stay on the D3 side, but they're phenomenal programs. And then you've got lower programs that don't put as much emphasis on hockey because of either the budget or the league they play in. But that's another discussion. Tonight, let's dig into what I wanted to talk about. Let's say hello to a few people first before we get rolling. Man, oh man, we've got a lot of the same people that we always see on Sunday night. Mary Jo, good to see you. Brandon's coming in from Springfield. Dante from Rockford, Illinois is on. Luis is on from Riverside, California, one of our most loyal. Dan's been here for a few weeks now. I mean, it's always good to see Dan because he's from Sheboygan, and he's from the other Sheboygan, the Sheboygan, Wisconsin, which is just a little bit less than Sheboygan, Michigan. Lenny's in from Boston. We've got Annette on from New York. Good to see some New York people on. Sean's on from BC. We've got Minnesota with Mark representing my cousin Jeannie on from Flint, Michigan. Greg's coming in from Amherstburg, which is just south of Windsor, so you got to know where that's at. And very loyal there too. And we also see Donna coming in from Oak Lawn. I'm not really sure where Oak Lawn is. Maybe you can throw that in the comment for me if you can. I'd love to know where Oak Lawn is. Donna, I think I know where Oak Hill is. There's a funny story about Lake Forest, which is just north, and I don't know how my mind goes. My mind got to talking about Lake Forest. I was being recruited when I was in the Marine Corps by several different schools, and I didn't know. I couldn't tell you the difference between a D1 school and a D3 school at the time. I really didn't know the difference. I was pretty naive to it. When you grow up in Michigan, Michigan now has 2 D3 programs. It's probably, of all the hockey states, it's probably got the least amount of D3 hockey. As you know, there's a lot of D1 hockey there. You've got Western, and you've got Ferris, and you've got Michigan State, you've got Michigan Tech, Lake Superior State, you've got, who else is up there? Who am I missing? Lake State, Northern, and Michigan Tech. So you got them Upper Peninsula, Lower Peninsula. They're all over the place. D1 hockey is really big in Michigan. But there was no D3 hockey when I was growing up. We didn't know the difference. I just thought it was college hockey. I didn't know what D3 hockey was until I was hired as a Division III assistant coach, and I started learning the difference. And that was, well on in my hockey career, and that was after playing college hockey. I still was not, familiar enough with the differences. And I think a lot of people are that way, and I think a lot of athletes are that way. And maybe not so much now because of the internet, maybe not so much now because of social media, and maybe not so much now because of the amount of emphasis that's put on playing Division I hockey, and that there's such an emphasis. Sorry about this, folks. My microphone stand just came loose. I just want to tighten it up there a little bit. So anyway, Lake Forest. I show up on the campus for an interview, and I thought I was going to go through there with a friend of mine that was on the Marine Corps hockey team with me. His name was Mike. In fact, Mike's part of the discussion group. He talks a lot about it. He's an ACHA coach, so he talks a lot about answering questions for us on the ACHA issues when they come up on our discussion group. So I go on this visit, and I walk into the rink, and there's a scaffolding system. Like if you've ever see the old school football, where they put the whole scaffolding system up, and the head coach is up there with one of those old school, megaphones or whatever you call them, like the cheerleaders use, the big cones. His coach is, I can't remember his full name, but his name was Fritz. I remember Fritz because he had one eye, and legendary coach there, and nothing bad to say about him, but he coached from the top of the scaffolding. He didn't go on the ice. And so he invited me up to go stand with him while he's coaching. And I had to climb up this scaffolding to the top of the rafters in this hockey rink, and the thing's swaying back and forth. And anyway, I digress. I don't know how I got there, but I thought I'd share that story with you as we went along. So once again, let's get into what we were going to talk about. And, by the way, it's also the Christmas spirit, it's Christmas time. Throw in your comments. Let's have some fun tonight. Throw in your comments what's your favorite Christmas movie? And I'm going to tell you right now, if it's not Rudolph, the Red-Nosed Reindeer, 1964, Burl Ives, animation, puppets. Yeah, I don't even know if any other answer could be anywhere near that. Maybe It's a Wonderful Life could come in, close second. Maybe, Frosty the Snowman, but that's not really a Christmassy one. That one's more, I guess it's a little bit Christmassy. But throw it in there. Throw in your comments which one are the best. Donna, thanks for getting back to me about Chicago South suburb. Didn't know exactly where that is. Now I do. That's good to know. In Chicago, a lot for hockey. Next time I'm there, I will make sure that I at least drive somewhere near it. But once again, favorite movie, throw it in the comment. Let's see what people are saying. And I'm already telling you right now, if Polar Express comes up, Polar Express can't happen. No, it's creepy. There's something about that. It's creepy. It's like the when you were younger and those Japanese cartoons came out where like Speed Racer. Cool concept, but it was really just kind of creepy. So, throw them on there. A couple things you might not know. Rudolph, made in 1964, the year I was born. Okay, but Rudolph, the reason why it's so cool, it took him over 30 months to make that 155-minute special. And it was one of the first, 1964. And it was so cool. So, maybe Elf. Maybe you can throw Elf in. Maybe the Santa Claus. But really, we got to talk about Rudolph. Okay, they're coming in already. A year without Santa Claus. I don't know, Donna. I don't know about that. Christmas Vacation, National Lampoon. Yeah, that's pretty good. Elf. Yeah, we can throw that in there. You got a couple elves coming in. White Christmas with Bing Crosby. Okay, I can dig that. All right, let's get going. We got a lot to talk about. I don't know. Tonight, just not going in the direction we want to go in. Okay, let's go here first. Let me get it up here, and the screen I want to see, which is, first I want to throw this up here. Okay, this is from the College Hockey Inc. website, and this is under the frequently asked questions. And the reason I think this is important for you to see, and let me see if I can adjust this a little bit. Yeah, okay. So the reason I think this is important because it does a lot of what we do here, but it's kind of condensed. It's kind of nice because when you look at this, you can get a lot of quick answers, and you can get a lot of answers to some things that just make you go, I don't know where to go. Okay, it tells you about the recruiting process, and you can go right through it. Hey, I'm a 16-year-old sophomore. How do I get involved? Can I speak to college coaches before my 10th grade year? Can a college coach talk to my coach or an advisor? And that's a good one. Can a coach talk to your advisor? Can a coach talk to your coach? They absolutely can talk to your coach. Now, the one thing about this is, and this is where you really got to be careful, they can talk to gain information about you to college, to your junior coach, to your youth coach, to your advisor. What they cannot do is talk to that coach or the advisor to convey a message to you. They can't do a wink and a nod. Hey, why don't you tell them this, and then have an intermediary in between the two of you. That's not playing by the rules. That can get you in trouble. How can I get noticed by college coaches? If you don't know that one already, you're not going to learn it on here. Where should I play to prepare for college hockey? Now, this is an interesting one because we talk a lot about this on this program. And it says here, more than a dozen junior and high school leagues send players directly to Division I. Okay? We've talked about high school before. If you read this and think you've got an option to play high school, yes, if you're playing in Minnesota, you have a very viable option to play junior hockey and then potentially Division I hockey. But this says on here that there are high school leagues that kick players, it makes it sound like it's common. There is no high school leagues that are commonly putting players into Division I college hockey. It doesn't happen. You get the rare player that might spend a year in juniors and then move on, and that's the 1%. That's the World Junior roster kind of kids. Okay, but the thought process that you can move on from high school to play Division I hockey, all you have to do is pull up elite prospects, click on the button for the year. When you you can sort every kid playing Division I college hockey through elite prospects. You can sort every single player on elite prospects that's playing Division I, and you can do it by birth year. And just look and see how many right now O2s or O3s are playing college hockey in Division I. Now, this isn't a good year. The pandemic's really throwing things for a loop, but you know what I'm talking about, and you know what I mean by that. But anyway, you're going to go, everything leads through juniors. If you're a prep player, it leads to juniors. If you're playing U18, U16, U15, it leads to juniors. If you're playing Minnesota high school and a few pockets, there's a little bit of really quality high school hockey in Wisconsin. There's a little bit of a pocket in the Detroit market, and there's a little bit of a pocket in the Boston market. Yes, you'll see some players that will go right from high school right to juniors, and they can go all the way up to the USHL level, North American Hockey League level from those pockets, and in Minnesota, of course. But you're not going to see it. You're not going to get kids out of the Ohio high school, or you're not going to get them out of Arkansas. You're not going to get them out of California playing high school and going straight to Division I. It doesn't happen. You're not even going to go to a quality junior league out of a high school program without some steps, some intermediary steps. So be careful on that advice, but everything else on here is super. Can I go straight from high school to play college? I already talked about that one. The difference between an official visit and unofficial visit, you can read all this stuff. I just wanted to make sure you see this. And the one that we've talked about before is this 21-year-old rule. If you play junior hockey after your 21st birthday, you will lose 1 year of academic eligibility. That means that those 2000s that are playing right now, normally in a non-pandemic year, those 2000s would not be able to play if they turn 21 during this year. So you're only seeing the 2000 class. You will see those kids that are there, but they usually try to leave mid-semester and pick up on the second semester if they're going to turn 21. The other thing that'll happen this year with the pandemic, it's just changed because now they're letting all those kids that are going to turn 21 stay in junior hockey. Now, the interesting thing about that 21 rule, and I know I'm jumping all over the place here, but the interesting thing about that 21 rule is you're starting to see some pushback against the major junior hockey. This is remember, there's two levels of junior hockey. There's the level that allows you to play and move on to NCAA hockey. In Canada, that is anything that's the CJHL, which is Junior A, Junior B, or Junior C. CJHL is the 10 junior leagues that are Junior A. And then any Junior B league or Junior C maintains your eligibility to move on to play NCAA. In the United States, it's Tier 1, Tier 2, Tier 3. All of those keep you eligible to play in the NCAA. But we're starting to see some pushback from the three major junior leagues, which are the CHL, which is the Quebec League, the Ontario Hockey League, and the Western League. And it's mostly social related. I thought about putting it up here, but it's not really our area, but it's worth mentioning a little bit. There's petitions starting now to give those 2000s this year, what are considered overagers, the 2000s, it's the oldest age in juniors. These are the kids that are 20 years old, to give them another year because of what's happened with the pandemic, because many of them have not even started playing. And even the kids that are playing in the United States, there's some leagues that are, there's some junior teams that only have 6 games in this year. There's other junior teams that have completely shut down. And so we haven't seen the movement yet on the NCAA eligible players, but we're starting to see some push towards Hockey Canada on the three major leagues, and you're starting to see some petitions grow to get that rolling. So we'll see where that goes. But let's get back to what we were talking about here. I want to make sure I share with you the rest of this information. On the other side here, in which this is where it really gets interesting, we just mentioned the major junior hockey. It goes through all of the rules for what you can do with major juniors. Basically, a major junior team can invite you in for 48 hours, and they can pay for your food, your travel. They can let you use gear, equipment, everything. You can play scrimmages, inter-squad. You cannot play against another team. If you choose to stay past the 48th hour, it has to be on your dime. And you have to be able to prove that it's on your dime, that your travel and everything was on your dime. You get one shot at each team to do that. So you can, Sarnia one weekend, you can go do it for Saginaw the next weekend for 48 hours. It's not a one-time across the board. It's one time per organization. Now, all the rules are right here. The great thing about this is that it breaks it down, and if you've been invited, if you've been drafted, you get drafted and they send you a hat. What does that do? Any of the questions you have, they're right here, and it's nice to have them in very simple form and fashion. You don't have to pull out in the way I do it is I pull out Hockey Canada bylaws, and I go to the junior section. I'm reading page after page. Going to USA Hockey bylaws, pulling out the junior section and reading page after page. They're doing it all for you right here, and it's a really nice product. Remember, College Hockey Inc. is subsidized by USA Hockey. USA Hockey gives them hundreds of thousands of dollars to run this site and to promote Division I hockey. So that's what this site's here for. It's to promote Division I hockey. The money that USA Hockey gets to run College Hockey Inc. comes from the NHL. The NHL gives a grant to USA Hockey so they can turn around and give that money to College Hockey Inc. So really, this is an NHL site for development. They want to see players in the NHL or in the NCAA system because it's great for them. It really is good for them to see players from everywhere play in this league because the players get stronger, they play less, they develop more, they get a little time to mature, they go to school, they get smarter. There's so many good things about it, and that's not a knock on major junior hockey. Major junior hockey is a profession. That's a choice. There's nothing wrong with that. But, we're here to talk about the other side of the coin here. So, once again, it's a great site. It gets into how scholarships work, how financial aid works. The Eligibility Center, always questions about that come up. You can get that information right here, too. And once again, I love this site. I love the simplicity of it. It does everything we talk about here in depth in a snapshot. It gives you a little bit of information on a lot of things that we go into a lot of detail on. So highly recommend it, College Hockey Inc. Take advantage of it across the board. I want to talk about the other side too, the scouting side, then we'll get to any of your questions. But right now, let's just see if anything come up on the comments. Junior C is talking about 99 and 2000s for next year. Greg thinks about that information. I had not heard about the 99s yet. And looking to see what's coming up on the Christmas movies. The Grinch, yes. How did I forget the Grinch? The Grinch has got to be mentioned in anybody that's putting a serious list together of Christmas movies or specials has got to have the Grinch. What am I thinking? But it's got to be, it really has to be the cartoon, the animation. It can't be, any of these, no, it's got to be the original. White Christmas with Bing Crosby. I think we already said that with Bing Crosby and Danny Kaye. That's a sleeper. That's so good. It should be mandatory. It should be watched in every high school, every middle school. It should be watched in every college. They should have a class just on watching Bing Crosby, Danny Kaye. Maybe even throw Fred Astaire in there, even though he's not in there. They should. Three Stooges too. Got to get them in there. It should be mandatory that everybody learns about them too. So okay, let's get on to going back to our screen here, and let's look at the other side I want to talk about is another piece that was on, and this piece, if I can pull it up, was something we touched on a little bit, and this is the Inside a Scout's Notebook, okay? And I told you we'd talk about this, and I think it's important that we talk about this, and I know it's going to be hard for you to see. A lot of you are watching this on your phone or your laptop or your iPad. You're not on large screen like I've got in the studio right here. But I'm going to actually take that down. But you know what I'm talking about. I'm going to actually talk about all the different areas on this. But there's no reason to show you that right now because it's going to be hard to see. But College Hockey Inc.'s got that posted. It's called Inside a Scout's Notebook. And basically what it says is, ever wonder what recruiters are scribbling down as they watch prospects play? A dozen NCAA assistant coaches gave us a peek at their notes. Below, with a fictitious team, are some of the things they're watching. Now, we're going to break down some of the things they're talking about. And this is a solid sheet. I know we've mentioned it a little bit in the past. However, this is not the end-all be-all, and it's a politically correct piece of information. Okay, and what I mean by politically correct is, remember where the bread is buttered. The bread is buttered for College Hockey Inc. by USA Hockey. Okay, there's an image and there's a mindset that they want you to have and they want you to think. And I'll break it down for you and we'll talk about it. The first one is several coaches told us that they track signs of hockey sense. Absolutely true. Hockey sense is a big one. Most coaches that are watching it say, hey, he's got a good hockey IQ. He's got good hockey sense. He sees the ice well. There's a lot of different, nomenclature around that, but absolutely something that scouts watch across the board. When I was working as a scout across the, in the industry as an owner, going through and working with some scouting companies over the years, doing major events like the World Juniors, there's no doubt about it. When you go and you sit in the stands at a USHL showcase, you go sit in the stands at a North American Hockey League event, you go sit up at the OHL Cup in Toronto, hockey sense is talked about by every coach. You're definitely going to see that on the notes. So another one is scouts will typically ask a coach for his thoughts on players to watch. Yes, this does happen where, it also depends on the respect that the coach has. If you're a coach that has a one-off team that's only made it into the let's say you're at the OHL Cup, or you're a first-year North American Hockey League coach, you're going to have less coaches at the D1 level reaching out to you and talking to you than if you're an established coach that's been around a while and knows what's going on. Some of those coaches will listen to you a little bit, but as you get more respect or you get more of a reputation where they know where you're coming from, they'll listen to you more. So who you play for, we've talked about this a ton, and we've talked about this ad nauseum. Being in the right program, being in the right league, playing for the right coach is everything. And having a coach that's well-connected will do wonders for you. It doesn't mean you can't get recruited without having a great coach that's established and is well-connected, but having a well-connected coach will absolutely move mountains for you when it comes to opening other doors. Once again, why do so many people gravitate to the Detroit markets? Because the Detroit markets, and this includes the other PHL and some of the other Tier 1 elites, they have coaches that are well respected and have reputations with both juniors and Division I and Division III schools. You see that a lot with the prep programs too. You see that with Minnesota high school programs where there's coaches that are trusted. They say, hey, this guy can play at the USHL level. This guy can play USPHL Premier level. Whatever the level is, they know where that kid fits in and they can give good assessments. So yes, scouts will ask coaches, if they're respected coaches, what they should be looking at as far as their roster goes. Scouts want to see what players a coach trusts. Okay, so trust is absolutely something that you'll see. A good scout, a good coach, an intuitive coach that's been doing this for a while, obviously looks at the power play and PK. It's going to tell you who his skilled guys are, who he trusts out there killing a penalty. But 1 minute left to go in the game and it's a tie game. 1 minute to go and they're down by a goal. You're up by a goal. Who's on the ice? Who's coming on the ice? With 30 seconds left, you get a lot of information right there. Coaches will dial into that right away and see, what players are trusted in those situations and which ones aren't. Scouts won't waste time watching players whose grades aren't good enough. Okay, this is the first call bullshit. Okay, Once again, scouts, this is what it says. It says scouts won't waste time watching a player whose grades aren't good enough. Bullshit. Talent will rule at the Division I and sometimes even at the Division III level. So if you hear that, oh, no, he's got bad grades, you're going to be playing with a knucklehead that can't spell his name right at U12, U14, even U16. You're going to think there is no way he's going to play college hockey. And all of a sudden, the kid's playing for a school that you thought was academically elite. It happens all the time. And you only have to go as far as watching Netflix and watching Last Chance U about football and realizing that, 20%, 30%, 40% of those kids go on to play D1 football and literally have a hard time doing just remedial type work. And that's the same way in hockey. If you believe, now there's coaches that, grades are extremely important to them. There's no problem with that. And I don't know if that number is 10%, 20%, 30% of the Division I college coaches out there where they will take a kid's name off because he doesn't have good grades. However, if the talent is good enough, and this is the same way with the NCDC, our National Development Program, if the talent is good enough, they are going to find a way to make it work. So, throw that out the window about grades. Now, all things equal, it's you, you're an apple and there's an orange, and you're both playing at the same level. You as the apple better have higher grades than the orange, okay? All things equal, if you're competing for the same spot, yes, that can be a distinguishing factor. However, if there's superior talent will override grades. Don't let anybody tell you anything different. And once again, not the politically correct answer, not the answer you want to hear because you think, oh, my kid's, he's 100, he gets hundreds, he gets A's, he's doing great. That means something. It does, but doesn't mean that if you got a teammate that's got 100 points and can fly, that kid's not going to bypass you. And sometimes you see the kids that don't have the academics will go to the OHL, they'll go to the Quebec League, they'll go to the Western League, but they'll still make it into the NCAA too. Don't let anybody tell you any different. Here's another one. The obnoxious parent can get a kid crossed off even if the coach likes him. Okay, once again, all things equal, is there parent cuts at the college level? Less than you think, because parents really don't come into the equation much at the college level, so it really doesn't matter. At the junior level, maybe a little bit more where the parent has a little bit more interaction or has a little bit more access to the program, especially if it's a pay-to-play league. So maybe the junior levels, if you're getting scouted by a junior team, an obnoxious parent can be knocked off. But once again, talent rules. They really don't care. Now, I do have a story, a player that I was involved with, skated with, worked with. He worked hockey camps for me. I'm going to leave the name off. Was a NHL drafted player, made it to the NHL, left college, had an incredibly good experience on the East Coast playing for Division I school, left right after his college season ended, went and jumped on with his NHL team, which you see from time to time. And his dad went out and spent the first few weeks with him. His dad pulled the coach, who at the time, was it Mike Keenan, I think was the coach at the time. Mike Keenan was the coach. Anybody knows his nickname is Iron Mike. Mike Keenan got pulled as he come off the ice, and the dad says, if you did this and this and this on the power play, this is the dad speaking. And Mike Keenan immediately called the agent of that player and basically said, that's your one strike. There is no second strike here. That's the one strike. This is a rookie, just came up. We're not going to deal with it. Now the player went on and had at least a 15-year career in the NHL. However, you do have parents that can get in the way. This doesn't happen as much at the D1 level as you think across the board. So, all right, let's get on to the next one here. Several coaches said that they track battles won or lost. Absolutely. You don't ever want to give up on the ice, especially if you know people are watching you. It doesn't matter how bad you got beat. You could fall down in the corner. you better get up and hustle until the whistle blows or until you get off at the end of your shift. Battles across the board are extremely important. It could be one of the most competing, that one-on-one competition, that one-on-two competition, seeing how you handle things across the board, one of the biggest factors that you'll see, and it's an extremely important category for coaches. Some coaches will tell you that they're more concerned about battles and competitiveness than they are on skating skills. Now, clearly, when you're at the Division I level, you can get both. You can get a player that's got skating skills, and you can get a player that can battle too. So if a scout likes a player the coach hasn't mentioned, the scout is likely to follow up and see why. Absolutely. Now, there's a couple of things. Junior coaches, and in this, your coaches at the prep level and your coaches at Minnesota high school, the good ones always have a strategy. They always have a strategy to work with college coaches and trying to get players placed. This is the same strategy you'll see with good U15 teams and good U16 teams. They don't always market their whole team. What they do is they market to try to get the first player done, okay? And sometimes that first player opens up the door to the second player, third player, fourth player. So if I know I've got, let's say I'm coaching either in the USHL or I'm coaching in the North American Hockey League right now, the BCHL, and I've got 10 committed players on my roster. So, I'm dressing 18 and 2 goalies, or I'm dressing now 19 and 2 goalies, 18 players and 2 goalies. 10 of the players are committed. So that leaves me with, a little over 10, 11 players that aren't committed. So now if I've got an 03 that's, developing, maybe he's not the guy that I'm really pushing hard right now. Maybe I'm really pushing those 2000s and 2001s first, trying to get them established before I start pushing the 02s and the 03s on my roster. And there's always a strategy. So a lot of times a college coach will ask about a player, and the coach will say, oh yeah, he's an absolutely great player. He was just younger. I gave you the names of the older players first because those are the guys that are like ready to go right now. Or before, when they're having that conversation, the college coach might even go up to the junior coach and go, hey, I'm not interested in 2000s right now. We're looking for 03s for 2 years down the road. So they'll have a relationship, and they'll have an understanding of how things go on that. So having a C or an A on your jersey makes a difference. Of course it does. Coaches always want to see leadership and see who the leaders are out there. So that's a good point across the board. A coach might note a player he wants to watch for different reasons, including recommendations by other coaches, or the player has expressed an interest in the school. Okay, this is important, and I've said this before. You're playing in a major showcase in 3 weeks, 4 weeks away. Or your season's just started and you know the 3 showcases. You're a Tier 1 elite, you're HPHL, you know where you're going, you know what showcases you're playing in. You reach out to every possible college that could be interested in you, that you know, and your head coach will know what coaches usually show up at these showcases. So, for example, if you play in the North American Hockey League, now this year is the pandemic, it's different, I get it, but in a normal year, they start off in Blaine, and just about every college coach is in Blaine, D1 and D3, to watch the North American Hockey League showcase. Later in the year, they have an all-star game, early or late winter, early spring, and it's usually played in Boston for the North American Hockey League. Just chock full. And you know how you can tell? When you go in the stands and everybody's got black pants on and a black coat on, with or without their school emblem on. If they've got black runners on and black pants and a black coat, they were born in Canada. Okay? If they've got tan shoes on, black pants, and a black coat, they might be an American. But that's how you tell who they are. That's how you know who's watching the games. Coaches love to wear black coats, black pants, black coats. No style at all in hockey coaches, none whatsoever. If you find a guy that likes to wear a little color, a little something else, usually they get fired right away because, look at Don Cherry, didn't last. Coaching-wise, didn't last. Anyway, let's get back to this. Anyway, let them know, because a coach walks in with 2 lists. A coach will walk in with a list of the people he wants to watch and the people that the coach of that team. So I'm going to go watch Honeybake play. Honeybake's the number 1 team in the nation for whatever age I'm looking at. And I'm a college coach. And so I call that coach, and I know the coach well. And I say, what do you think? I'm looking for 01s and 02s. And he goes, hey, yeah. And I'm like, I need a left shot D. He goes, this is the kid you want to see. This is the other kid you want to see. They'll fit real well in your program. So he gets a couple names there. He also has an assistant coach that's watched him play a couple times. He writes down the names his assistant coach is watched too. So he's got his list over here of those players. He really doesn't care about the rest of the roster. Now, he received an email from 3 other players on Honeybaked that say, hey, coach, I got great grades. I play for Honeybaked. I'm really interested in your program. He puts another list together of those players too, and he'll give them a look. Almost every coach does this. They'll give them a look just to say, okay, well worth it. And I told you last week at the end, I teased you with this saying, you know what? You could have the greatest game ever. You could have a 5-point game and go unnoticed to a college coach that's there watching your game. And how the heck does that happen? Well, because a college coach, if he's there watching for an 0-2, and let's say there's 0-1s and 0-2s in your team, and I know that's old right now. Let's say 0-4, 0-5. Let's say you're an 0-5. And there's 0-4s and 0-5s on your team. And he wants an 0-5, and he's looking for a left forward, okay? Left-handed forward. Doesn't care what, if you're playing right wing, left wing, or center. He wants a forward that's a left-handed shot, okay? So he's got his list over here of the couple kids that, he's already talked to the coaches with, his assistant coaches and the coach of the team. He knows specifically what he's looking for. So he's watching that kid every shift he comes out. When that kid's not on the ice, he's taking notes on the kid, so his head's down. Or he's watching the kid on the bench to see how he's interacting with the coach, how he's interacting with his teammates. Or he's positioning himself in the rink to figure out if the kid has got too much influence from his parents. In other words, is the kid, is dad up there giving him the baseball signals and the kid's nodding to his head, or is he distracted by the cute little blonde over in the corner, or is he trying to eat a hot dog on the bench? All those things come into play. So you might be out having a great shift, and a good coach doesn't necessarily watch the puck at all. That kid that he's looking at, that left winger that he's looking at, that 0-5 left-handed player, not left winger, but left-handed player, gets on the ice, and he could be over here and you could be scoring a goal, but he's watching to see what the kid's doing away from the play. He's watching to see how things are aligning and what he's doing, okay? So there's a lot of things that you expect, but it's your job to make sure that you let the coach that you play for know that you're interested in who's going to be at showcases and who you should be reaching out to. And regardless of what your coach says, you should also be taking the initiative to reach out to these college programs and let them know that you're going to be there. So you're at least on some list, okay? You're on some list. You might only get a shift or two, but it's better than the kid that's going to have a 5-goal game that gets no looks because the coach has got his list that he's working off of, and that's what he's going to go through. Okay, yeah, there's coaches that will just sit back and won't even touch their pen, just watch the game. And sometimes what you'll get is a coach will come in for a showcase and they'll watch the same team 2 or 3 times. And maybe the first game he just sits back and watches and just absorbs the whole vibe of the team. Who are the strong players, who are the weak, who's having a good game, who's not. But you're not going to see a coach come in with the whole roster and try to get notes on every single kid. It doesn't happen. A coach cannot do justice to try to get notes on every single kid, nor does he need to. There's kids that just don't fit what he's doing or what he's looking for. So I hope that helps a little bit. And then the other one is here, among other topics, tracked for goalies. Goalies, rebound control, hockey sense, skating, and common sense. If you got a goalie that's running out to the blue line to play the puck, or he sees a puck, that's 30 feet out, he tries to beat the incoming breakaway out to the puck, things like that, just common sense on the goalie side. But those are things that are looked at too. So hopefully that helps. Is this sheet a good sheet? Yes, look at it, but take it to the next level. Put some common sense into this. You need to take the initiative. You need to be reaching out. You need to be making these efforts to reach out to these college coaches and let them know you exist. If you do, there's a chance you're going to get on a list. If you don't know if you're going to be on a list. Okay, you could be the leading scorer on your team, but if you're short and right-handed and the coach is looking for a big lefty, better be on that one list that where the kids reached out to the coach, and at least you get a shift or two that he'll watch you. Okay, I can't guarantee you that every college coach does that. I know most of them do. And I can't guarantee you they'll give you more than I'll watch a Division I coach go over and I'll go, hey, how you doing, Bob? Yeah, good, Jeff. Good to see you. I say, oh, who are you watching? He goes, I got a couple kids that reached out to me. And he'll walk over to a game that's not the prime games. Let's say he's at Blaine, and there's a couple of Tier 1 elite teams that are not usually competitive, and he'll spend 5 or 10 minutes watching the game, watching the player, and giving him some time to see if he fits into the program or not, or is there something there. Now remember, Division I colleges don't need to find the diamond in the rough. They don't need to find the project kid. Now, if you're 6'8", maybe they'll take you as a project kid. But they don't need a project kid because there's too much polished talent out there for them to have to worry about, he's on a lower level Tier 1 elite team, and he's pretty good, and he's got a lot of potential. Now, in fact, they might say, hey, look, I'll look at that kid again next year, but no, he's not ready for us at this level now. They're looking for finished products across the board. So we jumped through a lot tonight. Let's see what anybody's had to say here, and then we'll get back to finishing up with making sure we get our Christmas talk in too. So if you got any comments on what I just talked about, throw them up. If you got any comments about your favorite Christmas movie, throw them up. Even if you're watching this on replay, remember, we get a couple hundred people watching the live or watching it right as soon as I download it, and then it gets distributed out, and we pick up a huge audience there. Anywhere from 5 to 10,000 people will watch this over the next 2 weeks. Some people watch it on YouTube, not really good, but help me out there if you can. Make sure you like this. Make sure you share this if you like this. Tell people to watch it if it's good information for you. Let's get into some of the questions here. Christmas Story with the Red Ryder BB gun. Of course, the BB gun was the best scene. Of course, the lamp is pretty funny too. How does the USPHL compare to the North American Hockey League? Well, I'm going to give you the nutshell answer on this one, and I'll just give this to you in statistic form. Throw out everything from this year, because this year, stats don't matter this year as much as they do in a normal year. The USPHL is actually the NCDC, which is your tuition-free side. Then it's Premier, then it's Elite. Okay, so you got 3 levels there. The North American Hockey League has 3 levels also. It has the NAHL, the North American Hockey League. Then it's got its NA3HL. Then it's got its NAPHL, which is their U18 division. So they've got U18, they've got their Tier 3 juniors, and they've got the North American Hockey League. Inside of that structure, you see some movement from the NAPHL up and around to the North American Hockey League. You see very few players that move in from NA3HL onto North American Hockey League teams. It just doesn't happen that often. Every team has to recruit they have to draft a player, and they have to tender a player. Every NAL team has to do that with an NA3 team that they are affiliated with, but you just don't see those kids stick very often. It's a very, very big jump. Now, the numbers, remember, and Jeff Nygaard was the gentleman that I recommended his video or his podcast last week. It's called The Whistleblowers, and it was talking about the bubble that was built in Tampa. Jeff he's a great blogger. He's a really good hockey man, understands this. He was also the commissioner of the NCDC a few years ago. Now, he just texted me today talking about some stats, and he goes, did you realize that the North American Hockey League had more fresh commits last year than the USHL? Now, at first you go, wow, really? But remember, it's proportional. You've got 26 teams in the North American Hockey League. This year, you only have 13 USHL teams. I think in a regular year, they've got 15 in the National Development Program, right around there. So it's not proportional. So you're going to see the numbers in the North American Hockey League look really good. The NCDC, in a given year, up until this year, you'll have 1, 2, 3 teams that have a ton of Division I talent, and it's usually centered around the Hitmen. The New Jersey Hitmen are usually chock full of Division I talent. However, for fresh commitments, the league doesn't even make it to the top 5 of junior leagues for fresh D1 commits every year. In other words, if you're on a roster and you're not committed at the beginning of the year, your league, the NCDC, just doesn't have that amount of commitments. You can do it prorated or proportionately by the size of the league. You can do it on raw numbers. It doesn't matter. The way it works is the most players proportionately are the USHL, then your North American Hockey League. Now, the North American Hockey League can actually have more, but if you're talking about players per team, the USHL usually does well. This year, it's going to be different. I'll talk about that in a second. Then it goes usually the BCHL, then it goes the AJHL, then you'll get a combination of the CCHL out of the Greater Ontario area, or you get the OJHL that'll come in strong. And somewhere down there in the 5th, 6th, or 7th place, you'll find the NCDC. So it doesn't mean they're not putting out college talent. The NCDC has done an excellent job of becoming a great place to play if you want to play Division III, especially on the East Coast, and play for some of the powerhouse D3 programs that are just up and down the East Coast. So hopefully that helps a little bit, Mary Jo. Good question, and glad you asked it. Sean says, here in Canada, junior programs are telling kids the exact opposite. I've sat on many parents' meetings where we were told if it comes down to 2 kids that are pretty much identical skill-wise, colleges will take the one with the good grades. Yeah, I said that. Apples to oranges. If everything's equal, Sean, yeah, grades come into play. But if this kid's a little bit better than this kid, the grades become the secondary issue. So they're going to take talent, but if talent's equal, then they'll go to grades. That's absolutely true. So you're right on that, Sean. Good point. Glad you brought that up. Do showcases post a list of college coaches attending the showcases? The answer is yes, they do. Here's the little secret. When you walk into any showcase, look for the coach's sign-in board and just walk over and stand next to it. And if the lady's friendly, or the man that's there is friendly, you can say, do you mind if I browse through? You can actually lift up and look through the pages of all the different NHL, OHL, Division I, Division III, or advisors. They all sign in. You can see who's there. It's sometimes hard not to figure out, or it's hard to figure out who's in the stands because not all the schools wear their coats. Usually the bigger programs are either very subtle with something small, or they just don't wear. They just wear a plain black jacket, a Bauer coat or something, because it's easier for them not to get noticed in the stands. They don't want to become the center of attention. So hopefully that helps there. Great question on that, Dan. Do some of them will on their social media, they'll actually post pictures of who signed in for the day, or they'll list 61 different schools were here today, or 61 different scouts were here. So yes, and you'll see the same thing in showcases for spring. You'll see the same thing for fall and winter showcases too. Jay says, still looking for USHL affiliate list and haven't found them. Good luck on that one, because I don't think anybody's found them yet, Jay. Any idea if they're ever going to post them? Once again, we're in wacky world right now, Jay. The rosters have not been solidified yet. Nobody was giving true answers. I'm really I don't want to push USA Hockey on this because I get so much information out of them. I don't want to keep nagging them on this because I've been nagging them quite a bit. But they haven't, the rosters haven't been locked in yet at their numbers yet. And I think they've been very lax on that. So the answer across the board yet, Jay, is no, we haven't seen affiliate lists yet. And for those that don't know what affiliate lists are, USHL teams have the ability to affiliate younger players, and I think it's 16s and 18s. I don't think it's U15s. I think it's just 16s and 18s. And that player can be affiliated, which means he might get a chance to go up and actually play with that USHL team during the season, maybe get a game or two in. So that's what that affiliate list is. It's kind of like a loosey-goosey draft list for pre-drafting players to kind of get a sense of what they're like. So some teams use those affiliate lists strongly. Other teams, literally an assistant coach will fill out 10 names and submit them of anybody. They don't put a lot of, not every team puts a lot of weight into those. Some teams do put a lot of weight into it. So unlike the draft, the affiliate lists can be all over the board. So hopefully that helped. Hi, Jeff. Are there any expansion plans in the North American Hockey League or the USHL? That's a great question. And don't forget the North American Hockey League has one more franchise coming in next year. I have heard nothing about USHL plans to grow right now. We've got a couple franchises because of the storm that hit right when the pandemic hit that really crushed two teams without having the rinks. But that happened in the Midwest with the USHL. The pandemic came into play, and you already had a franchise in the North American Hockey League that was really struggling, which was Corpus Christi. Now, there's no word yet on the viability of every franchise that shut down for the year coming back. So I would say the first question has got to be, are we going to see all the franchises that shut down for the year coming back in the same form? Now, remember, the BCHL has one American team, Wenatchee, that is not playing. The OJHL up in Canada, part of the CJHL league, which is Buffalo, not playing. I believe the SIJHL has 3 teams in the U.S. that aren't playing, and I think there's at least one in the Northern Ontario Junior Hockey League that's not playing, along with the North American Hockey League that's got several franchises shut down, and the USHL with a couple shut down too. So before I think any of these presidents are going to worry about expansion, I think they're going to worry about kickstarting and getting everything reestablished to the same level. Boy, oh boy, that's a big project right now to see, hockey come back to the same level. Not every rink's coming back. We know that. We've seen rink shutdowns. We've seen youth organizations having to consolidate, do different things to stay alive. We're not through this yet. I mean, I know there's a vaccine coming, but some of the rules that have been put in place and the constrictions, I would say right now, before Mark, we can really worry about any growth in junior hockey. We really got to worry about reestablishing what we had. So remember, the great news about this is, and if there's a full glass, is because of this, we've seen a lot of great hockey in the North American Hockey League. We've seen the NCDC with great hockey. We've seen the premier level of the USPHL with great hockey. North American Hockey League all have great hockey right now because of this contraction. So let's see where it goes. Can't tell you that there's no crystal ball, nor is anybody talking now. I think everybody's hands are full trying to just deal with this pandemic, that any growth conversations have been kind of put on the back burner. I will gladly look into that and see if I can get some information on that, but I think the answer is going to be, that's not what we're worried about right now. So last one here, thanks for the info. I have a specific question. Can I DM you? Absolutely. I wouldn't have thrown that up. I didn't mean to embarrass you by putting a DM question up there, but yeah, go ahead and DM me. I won't DM you, and then we can chat there. Don't forget, folks, if you need it, the opportunity to use Chaos Management calls. I do 1-hour consulting calls. It is for a fee. It's not advisement, but we break down how to build and structure things and build a direction. Even if you have an advisor, there's a lot of people that use the call and will use that to help build a plan, get things in place, get kickstarted in the right direction. Once again, I'm not an advisor. I give you process and I give you planning information. Even if you choose to use an advisor, and a lot of times that conversation has to do with hiring an advisor and making sure you're in the right direction. So let's see if there's any other questions. Then we're going to run. Then we're going to get out of here. Lenny throws up the question, what are the top D3 teams and leagues in the Northeast? That's a loaded question because it's all in perspective on D3 hockey. One of your best teams right now is a SUNY school. It's Geneseo out of right here, just about 30 miles south of where I'm at in upstate New York. Geneseo is a great campus, and it's an outstanding hockey program with an outstanding coach. Not to say that the SUNYs aren't strong. The SUNY League, and SUNY is a state universities of New York. So if you live in Wisconsin, you've got the Wisconsin, and then you've got the satellite cities with the Wisconsin that usually are D3. If you're in other states, you've got like Alabama, Huntsville is not the University of Alabama we know from football. It's the campus at Huntsville. That's where the D1 hockey team is. So in New York, the SUNY system has a ton of colleges, and there's a handful of them that have college hockey, and they're all D3. And you'll find that the rinks are all similar. You find that the campuses are all similar, and they're all over the place. They're all the way up from Plattsburgh, up in the Adirondacks to the Buffalo area, and everything in between. So there's one, but the NESCAC, the New England Small College League, which is not playing this year, has some programs that are literally some of the best D3 programs that have been around forever. Middlebury comes to mind. You know, they've had runs where they've won 3-4 national championships in a row. I don't think they've done that recently, but you know, these are beautiful campuses. The NESCAC League is called the Mini Ivy. You know, these are the schools that will catapult you into graduate programs at the same level that the Ivy League schools do. You know, they're really good schools, really high academics, a little expensive though. Then you've got schools like Adrian in Michigan, that's turned out to be great. You've got Wisconsin Superior. You've got Wisconsin the Falls. I forget which one it is. But you got the Wisconsin schools in the Wisconsin area that are great. Adrian in Michigan has become a powerhouse. You've got Norwich, which is half military, half civilian, and the way their schools broke down. Norwich is up in, I believe, Vermont. It's straight across from Plattsburgh, across on the ferry, so Vermont would be where it's at. In the middle of nowhere, but outstanding hockey and great crowds, programs treated like a D1 program. Then you get some really far outliers. You've got a program in the Upper Peninsula of Michigan that sits way up above Michigan Tech by another 40 minutes up the road, 40 minutes up the road from Michigan Tech, way up on the Keweenaw Peninsula. So you've got D3 programs all over the place, but the ones I mentioned are on the top. The easiest way to do this is just go to USCHO, and you can pull up every single D3 league. You can pull up how they stand. You can pull up how their rankings are. And you can also do the history of the programs on USCHO.com, USCHO.com, and you can get all that information. That's a great question, Lenny. I hope that helped a little bit on where you were going with that. Sean says, what have you heard about the viability of the WSHL after the shutdown for COVID? We saw a large number of teams leave for other leagues. Also heard that Bellingham has left the WSHL. No word, any insight. You're in a world right now at the WSHL that I really can't answer. That's the Western States Hockey League, and part of it got enveloped into the USPHL this last year as the USPHL has continued their growth, uncontrolled growth, in my opinion. I can't see a junior league being coast to coast in the United States, just like you can't see a junior league. You can see an umbrella in Canada. You can see an umbrella. It's very well organized, the CJHL. But the CJHL actually is the umbrella for 10 separate leagues, mostly broken down by province. The USPHL is just so big right now. I have a feeling you'll see that crack and splinter at some time in the future. It always has. Over the last 40 years that I've been involved, 35 years I've been involved, we've seen many, these consolidations, and they crack and splinter when, Boston can't control everything. Let's just put it that way. So I don't know really what the answer is. I did tell you that I had some news coming out of the BCHL out of Western Canada. It's still unclear exactly what's going on, but there is some age limitations. 18 and under being allowed to play is one of the rumors, or some of the rules that are being put in place, which could affect some of the 19, 20, and 20 or 19 and 20-year-old junior players. It's unsubstantiated right yet exactly how this is going to play out. I want to see it play out, and then I'll gladly jump in and try to answer that. So let's see. Mark Rohrman. Mark was a teammate on the All-Marine hockey team with me, along with Mike Kernbrot, who I mentioned earlier, who's an ACHA coach. He says, not sure about hockey, but lacrosse posts attending college coaches list after every showcase. Very good point, Mark. Most do here too, not all, but most. So, okay, that's it, folks. I really hope you enjoyed tonight. Please, if you like this information, share it with somebody. Put like down. Make sure you're liking our Facebook page. Make sure you put some comments. Please keep going with your, okay, I tabulated right now. Rudolph the Red-Nosed Reindeer had 8,700 votes for being the most popular. Every other show had 1 vote, maybe 2. It's a Wonderful Life had 2. But that's it. So we know who the winner is right there. And hope you have a great holiday. We will be on next week. Remember, we're talking World Juniors next week. We'll get into that, and we'll talk a little bit about how those teams come about. We talked about that already. We'll talk about what it means to be on one of those teams and what direction it looks like this year and who are the favorites. And we'll get into an area that we normally don't get onto the show, but let's have some fun next week. And let me know what you're thinking. Let me know what your thoughts are. And we'll see you very soon.
Now listen, I want all of our friends and family to share this on Instagram and TikTok.